Now at home.
All right, we'll begin the second round. Mrs. Morton, you have the first question. What sort of policy do you think this country needs? Oh dear. I'll have to look at my records. I think the word is energy. You're correct.
We got it.
Thank you very much. Please be specific.
What sort of energy policy do you think this country needs? I want to say thank you to Joe Thomas for being here. Joe, thank you for enduring with us through this whole ordeal, talking to us every Thursday morning at 6:30. I just thank you so much. I do also want to say thank you to the ladies here today, and thank you to the veterans that are here. Thank you, men and women who have served our country. Many things that I would not touch in our budget. But let's go to energy. Energy independence. We have got to get out from under buying oil from countries that hate our guts. So we have got to break free from the track that we're in. How we do that? We simply use our natural resources that we have here in America. Clean coal, natural gas, and we need to drill and use what oil that we have. And I would be sponsoring legislation, I'm going to tell you right now, to free up and remove the regulations that are on nuclear power. We are 30 years behind the world, 30 years not using our resources and abilities here in this country, and we have no need to have ourselves in a national security situation where we are not able to provide energy for our country. So those are the main things that I would do. Work to use our natural resources that we have here in America, and let's look at cutting back some of those subsidies that we are paying for green energy. I'm not opposed to green conservation and taking care of things, but let's look where federal dollars are going that could be better put into things that would give us more bang for the buck, more energy for the dollars that we are spending. Thank you.
Number 2, Mr. Boyd. Currently, there are 2 competing proposals for tax simplification and reform. One is the fair tax, and the other is the flat tax. Do you like either of the reforms, or neither? But if you do, which one and why?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm going to say I'm not going to mention Joe Thomas. I'm not going to But this is a difficult question for me because I am a proponent of the fair tax, and I think that's the way we need to be heading. But we need to realize that in order to pass the fair tax, we have to have a constitutional amendment doing away with the IRS. It's the only way it'll work, because if we don't do that, then all we're going to do is end up with a VAT tax. This is what Obama wants anyway, added on to the IRS and the income tax. So we have to do that, and that's not a simple process. It takes, I think, 2/3 majority in the Congress and the Senate. It takes a 3/4 majority of the states in order to ratify a constitutional amendment. So it's not something that we can do quick. Now, we have not got the time in this country, with the financial situation we're in, to postpone doing something about the tax code for the next 2 to 3 years. We've got to provide some relief for our corporate America, for our corporations, and reductions in taxes there, because this is the only way we're going to get jobs back here in this country, is if we can provide tax relief. So that in mind, I wonder if maybe the fair tax would be easier, the flat tax would be easier to put in, because that simply is a matter of going along with the IRS code and saying everybody pays a certain percentage of their salary. So what I'm saying is that I think we have to have a short-term and a long-term strategy. We need some immediate assistance on tax. We need to restructure the tax system in this country. We need to cut down on the corporate taxes so we can create jobs, and that is so needed in the 5th District. We're very fortunate here in Albemarle County. They're not as fortunate down in Martinsville, Virginia, where my wife's family's from, in the southwestern part, where 20% unemployment. But we've got to do something immediate to them. So I think we need to think real hard about taxes. Tax reform is what we ought to do, and long-term, the fair tax. Thank you.
Question number 3, Mr. Verga. Do you think a limited federal government can exist today?
standing by the edge of this word I was going to fall off. So every time I stand up, I have to deal with it. I'm always in that situation. I'm always in that situation. Yes, I do believe they can. And there is a lot of cynicism that we're lost. We can't reduce the size of the federal government. And I believe we can. I believe we can. But what we need to do in order to do that is to elect officials and hopefully have a president in office that will fight that. You know, in 1980, people said that we can lower the tax codes. We're stuck. They called Ronald Reagan absolutely crazy. Now, I know it's not reducing the size of federal government, but the tax rate, the individual tax rate, went from approximately 71% to 28%. It could be done. We can do it, but we need to make sure that we do two things to cut the size of federal government. First of all, we need to cut the size of federal government, like the 2,000 federal subsidies that we have that are non-discretionary funding that we don't need, particularly now since we don't have any money. But we also need to reduce taxes. Ken said the right thing. We need an immediate plan, something I've been talking about in my campaign, to reduce taxes now to get Americans back to work, and then we need to abolish the IRS and have a better tax plan for this country. Both things will reduce the size of federal government cutting and also reducing taxes, getting money back into the private sector. I believe it can happen, and let's step over the naysayers and everybody in the room. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Number 4, Mr. Ferrin. What specific steps would you take to deal with our immigration situation today?
I would first of all get the governor of Arizona to travel around and do some educating. I believe educating conservatism is as important as legislating it, and the governor of Arizona seems to have it right. We need to enforce the laws. We need to make it financially unattractive for a business owner to hire someone who is not a documented, legal, resident, citizen, or visitor. We need to make it unattractive for any business to do business, whether renting a house or selling a house, to somebody who cannot document. I've talked a lot recently of people who said, yeah, we have every time ICE does a raid of a business and lines up a group of illegal aliens and sends them out of the country, those business owners are actually on the phone to the representatives saying, I just lost 500 affordable workers, what am I going to do? Well, I don't believe in a path to citizenship that is any different than what anyone from Western Europe wants to have. I don't believe allowing a person to enter from economic reasons is enough of a reason to give them special treatment. But I think we should have not an immigration policy, but a migration policy. If we need people in the fields to be working, and the business owners need those people and can't find Americans to do that work, then we have a migration policy that does allow them to document themselves, enter the country, and do the work if in fact there is work that needs to be done that cannot be filled by an American citizen. I think enforcing the laws are important. Jim McKelvey said he could build the wall, so starting January, I think we should hire you, Jim, to go down the wall. As your congressman, I'll be glad to support legislation for that. Basically, a support